section 4.1 has to do with reading and writing decimal numbers. So there is a way to read decimal numbers besides saying 0.1. So decimals are used when a whole is divided into equivalent parts, into 10 equivalent parts. That's how we get decimals. So either 10, 100, 1,000, or 10,000. The dot in 0.1 is called the decimal point. So that's our decimal point. We can see it. So using the decimal forms of fractions, here's the fraction 6/10. Here is the equivalent of it as a decimal, 0.6. And this is how we actually read this decimal. 6/10. 6/10. So now, hopefully you're starting to look more into the future, but what we're going to start doing is we're going to start looking on the other side of your place value chart. Okay? We're going to start looking at the place value chart that's to the right that we haven't looked at. That is where that tenths is coming from. So I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. But just for an introduction, 6/10 is equivalent to 6/10. That's how we read it. This is how we read this fraction, which is the same way that we read the decimal part of that fraction. Who wants to give it a try for B? Sammy? Okay, so can you tell me the decimal part of it? 0.11. And does anybody want to give it a try on how you would say that? Okay.
1100.
1100ths. Good job. 1100ths. So, well, I'll show you guys how to name it. I just want to see what you know so far. Good job. So look at, hopefully you're starting to see a pattern, because I'm going to ask you what the pattern is here in a little bit. 6/10 is 0.6. 11/100 is 0.11. So keep that in mind. 64/100, Carlton, what do you think the decimal part of it is going to be?
0.64.
0.64. Okay. Sean, do you want to give it a shot and see how you would say that? 6400ths. Good job. Oh, look at this coming back in. What did we call that? A hyphen. Good job. A hyphen. Who remembers the rule of when do you use a hyphen?
When they're
Good. Tia?
I forget what number it was. Anything over 21?
Yeah. So anything from 21 to 99, I believe, right? Good. So that doesn't go away. The rule's still there. Yeah. Can you convert this to a decimal for me? Right, 0.352. Stephanie, you want to give it a shot on how to say it? Kayla? Good job. 352,000. 52 hyphen, because it's between that 21 and 99, right? All right, who notices the pattern here? How do you know how to convert it to a decimal? Jessica Ann?
If you look at the decimal and directly underneath that decimal, write a 1. No, not there, directly underneath it. Yeah, straight underneath it. Now, under that 6, put a 0. that's tenths. And then if you move down to the 11, the 1, 0, 0, that's 1100.
So you
Every
put a 1 underneath
decimal
the
is a
decimal,
1.
and then you put the zeros, that tells you how many place values. That's actually a really good trick. That's more of a visual trick, which is good. I like that. That's really good. I've never heard of that before, so good job. Another way of looking at it is you look at the number and you move the decimal over that many places according to the zeros of the 10 underneath it. So if you have a 6, where would the decimal go in the number 6? In front of it or behind it? Behind it. So that's how you know you move that decimal to the right 1 unit. I mean to the left, not to the front of it, sorry. To the left 1 unit because you're making it smaller, right? So you're moving the decimal over backwards or to the left 1 unit. For number 11, for the number 11, the decimal's right here, but you're talking about divided by 100, right? So you're going to move the decimal to the left 2 times, and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right. So here is our place value chart. We've talked about this side before. We talked about the ones, the tens, the hundreds. Remember that we talked about how to read whole numbers, how to estimate whole numbers. Well, now we're going to talk about the right side of the decimal chart, and that is the decimal part of it. So now, instead of multiplying by multiples of 10, which gives us our place values to the left of it, we're going to be dividing by multiples of 10. Whoa. By multiples of 10, which gives us our decimal values. Okay? So what do you guys notice about the difference between the whole part and the fractional part in our place value chart? There's something that's unique about it, that's different. The ending, good, that's one of the things. Notice how our ending for the fractional part is THS. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 100,000ths. Okay? So, yeah? That is the other thing I wanted you guys to notice. If you notice, they match, right? Tens and tens. Hundreds, hundreds. Thousands, thousands, and so forth. What? Like Stephanie said, there is no ones. Because we do not have 1/5 place. Because once we're talking about 0.1 is the smallest value could ever be, and that would always be over 10 in order to get that decimal. That's why. So notice that each place is 10 times the value of the place value to its right. And again, don't forget your hyphens. Okay? What do you guys notice? Another thing that you guys should notice from our place value chart. One more thing, besides that there are no ones, that they end in THs, and there's another very, very, very significant thing that you should notice.
We're finally allowed to say and.
Yes, we're finally allowed to say the word and. If you notice, that decimal right there is the word and. So anytime you hear the word and associated with the number, you need to know, okay, I need to bring in a decimal. It means a decimal. And I'll show you guys some examples of how that would look like. Here we go. Identify the place value of each digit. All right. So here are the numbers that we're trying to identify. And we're going to identify the place value of each of these digits. So look at that number right there. What place value is 4 in? In the ones place? Good job. 4 is in the ones place. We're looking at our place value chart, right? Viviana, what place value is 3? In the tens. Good. Brittany, what place value is 2 in? Hundreds. Good. 100. Notice that is DS. Jason, what about 8? Tenths. Good. Caitlin, what about 9? Hundredths. Tenths was the 8 and 9 is in the hundredths. All right. Any questions on that? You're gonna have to do that. I know. So place values are important. Make sure you look at your table. All right. What do we call number 1? What place value is number 1 in? Tenths. Good. 2 is hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000. Good. Hundredths, thousandths. Good, good, good. Oh, I see what happened. Saber, you signed in the wrong place. I got you. All right. This is how we're going to read each decimal in words. Okay? Just like we did with the fractions. Remember, we went from fractions to decimals to the words. So what you do is you start by reading the number. If it's just a number behind a decimal and there's nothing in the front for your whole, then you just say the number and then you attach the place value. So this would be called 4/10. Okay? What would this one be called? 52 hundredths. Don't forget THS because we're talking about, that's how we differentiate between wholes and fractional parts is by the way that you see it. Because if I hadn't given you this and you just read that, you need to be able to go backwards. So you need to know, am I talking about 5200 or 52 hundredths, right? All right.
Start by reading the number.
Which is 3. And what's the place value? That's it. Not so bad, right? Isabella, you want to try D? Read the number. Good job. 826 hyphen 1,000. Thousands, yes.
So going backwards, if we didn't have a 0 there for in front of the decimal point, how would we write that as a fraction?
852 over 1. This is the formula.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right, any questions on this? If you notice, we didn't have any whole part to it. They're just all decimals. It's going to change once we go back to wholes, when we add wholes to it. Chocolate. No. All right. Like this one.
That's what I was wondering.
So this one is a little bit different because now we actually have a whole part to it and a decimal part to it. And I didn't do that on purpose, I promise. So this is how we read these ones. You start by reading your whole part, and in that case it's just 12. We don't need to put a place value because it's in the ones in the ones period, right? We just say how we see it, 12. But now we're able to use the word and to indicate that we have a decimal. So 12, and then you go ahead and name your decimal part, which is 7/10, because 7 is in the tenths place in our place value.
So it would actually be,
So what Jessica Ann just said that I think is important for you guys to notice is she's talking about how do I convert this to a decimal? Well, you have 12 wholes, and what would be the fraction part of it? 7/10. So it's a mixed number, right? But they're related. That's why every fraction goes along with the decimal. This is a really good question because that's something that might come up on your test. So if you know how to go back and forth, that's really good. That's really good. 12 and 7/10. Here's another one. Here is another one.
300.
Hold on. Who wants to give it a shot? Akil, you want to give it a shot? Just try it. 352. We don't use plus. You don't know if someone want to help them out? Okay.
352 and 71.
Beautiful. Don't forget that decimals and, not plus, 352 hyphen and 70, 71, 70, oops, I did that on purpose to make sure you know, keep you guys on your toes. 71 hyphen hundredths, because that's the place value. Okay? Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Writing decimals as fractions or mixed numbers. The digits to the right of the decimal point are the numerator of the fraction. The denominator is 10 for tenths, hundredths, thousands, and 10,000s. If the decimal has a whole part, it will be written as a mixed number with the same whole number part. So these are the steps of what we just talked about, which is what Jessica Ann had brought up on how you go back and forth. That's exactly what we're going to be doing now. So it's a good thing that you guys want to keep, looking at other questions that can come up, because eventually we will have to do that. So write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number. So in this case, how do you know if you're going to have a mixed number or a fraction? Well, if you don't have a whole, you're not going to have a mixed number. You're just going to have a fraction. So 0.21 is the same as 21/100. Now you can do the trick that Jessica Ann said, which is where you put the 1 underneath the decimal and just add the zeros underneath each of the digits, and that tells you that it's 100. If you didn't know that, you can just read the place values. Tenths, hundredths, it's in the hundredths place, so I divide by 100. Make sense? I never heard of that trick before, Jessica Ann. I'm going to use it. Hundredths place, 100 for hundredths. That's it. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Raise your hand, I'll pick one. Okay, go ahead. Micaiah?
743 over 1,000.
743 over 1,000. Beautiful. Or you can do that. I really. There you go. Sean, how about C? What's different between B and C, Sean? There's a whole number.
It'll be 5
There you go.
and 87,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Okay, you can use that trick. Look, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. 10,000. 5 is your whole number because it's in front of your decimal. We finally have a whole. Mixed numbers. Beautiful. Raise your hand if you feel comfortable with this stuff, converting, looking at it and converting. Raise your hand. Majority of you. Yes, but did you have a question?
If it's a mixed or the whole number is gonna always be a mixed number.
Yes, because they're telling you that you have a whole part of it. All right, here we go. Write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number in lowest terms. So now, not only do you have to convert it to a fraction. All right, Kia, go ahead and try D for me. Okay, so walk me through it, please.
I put the 4 over 10, and then I saw that 2 goes into both.
Which is 2,
Which is 2, 5.
2/5. Beautiful. Raise your hand if you got that all by yourselves. Woohoo! Don't lie. Let me see. All right, what about E? Who has the answer to E? Oh, I forget that I did this. I always forget that I do so much more work than. Sean, go ahead.
It's 45 over 100.
And then? Oh, I'm still.
Increased it by 5.
Good. Which is?
925 or 9. Oh, 20.
920. Close. Good job. What's that funny?
The way you just said it.
Oh. I don't. All right. Here we go. All right. Yaya, what did you do? What did you do?
I'm with the 9s and the 1s, please.
So this is what I would have done. I started with the decimal right there, and then I put lines to represent my place values. I just made up lines. Okay, and then you go through, Yaya, go ahead, and you said what? There's a 9 in the ones place,
Wow.
0 in the 10, 2 in the 100. So if we start going from left to right, 200. So you know that's after the decimal, right? Because of the THS. So 10th, 100th. So here's where that 2 would go, right? 200ths, that's where she put that one there. 1, 10, 100. 0 tenths, that's why there's a 0 there. 0 tenths, so that means that there's a 0 in the tenths place. 5,000 right there. And 9 ones. So the number is 209.
You missed one.
Where?
5,000 in front
Oh,
of
I'm
you.
sorry. Where?
No, the other side's
Oh, thank you.
5.
You missed one too, Yaya.
God damn it.
So close. All right. So how do we read this? 5,209 and 25,000. Now you know how to read any number, guys. Instead of saying, what did you get? Oh, I got 5209.025. Raise your hand if you're the victim of that.
I wouldn't.
Happens a lot. I know. It
Read it
happens.
again.
5,209 and 25,000. Boom.
And what?
What did he say?
I missed putting the Bible like you did until I
Oh.
was doing it with you.
Alright. I really like this section because I feel that rounding decimals comes up a lot in a lot of your work problems. So you're gonna know, you need to know how to do it. And I teach all the way up to 121. And even in 121, you have to round your decimals. And students have a hard time with that, even in 121. So that's why I hope that in this class you learn it and it stays with you and it moves on to your long-term memory, so you will always get your rounding right, okay? So rounding decimal numbers. We're just gonna go ahead and do it. Round 16.98467 to the nearest thousand, okay? So the first thing is you're gonna draw a cutoff line after the thousands place. So how I taught you is that you underline the number in the thousands place. Remember that? You find your place value, tens, hundreds, thousands. But now when we're dealing with decimals, not only are you gonna underline the place value, but you wanna kind of picture in your mind a pair of scissors that is gonna cut right after that place value. Like this. Like this. Okay? That's what I want you to picture. Once you find your place value, your imaginary scissors are gonna come and cut it. Okay? Once you determine what the number is, what number am I gonna look at to tell me what to do?
The 6.
The 6, always to the right. So even though you're gonna get rid of it, you kind of need it still a little bit before you get rid of it, because that number is gonna tell you what to do. That 6 is gonna tell that 4 to do what? Go up. Good, go up one place value. So that 4 will turn into a 5. Now, you no longer need the 6, you say 5. Right? So you end up with 16.985. So that is that number rounded to the nearest thousands place. Because once you cut it, that's the difference between whole numbers. Remember when we were rounding whole numbers? The rest of the numbers turn into what? Zeros. When we're doing decimals, we just want to get the numbers to that place value. That's why we cut them and we get rid of them. We use them just to tell us what to do. Once they tell us what to do, we like, whoop.
So we don't have to put the zeros in there.
Nope.
Okay.
Questions on that? Yes.
If we forget and we put the zeros on the test, are we gonna get it wrong?
Yes, because it's wrong.
Okay.
So here is the steps on rounding decimals. Don't write them down. There's too many of them. Get the PowerPoint and write them if you need to, or get the printout. The only thing you have to remember from those rules are, if it's 5 or higher, you round up. If it's not, you keep it the same. If not, you keep it the same. All right, go ahead and do this. What number is in the hundredths place, guys? The 9. Do you agree? Tenths, hundredths. Now, once I underline the 9, I'm going to look at which digit to tell me what to do.
The 1.
The one to the right. So that 1 is going to tell me what to do. What is that 1 telling the 9 to do? To stay or to go up? To stay. Good. So if I'm staying, don't forget that that gets cut off. This gets cut off. I don't want you no more. Get out of here. So my answer is 0.89.
Yes.
But my real answer is, Viviana, how would you say that? Say that again? 89 hundredths? Yes, good job. 89 hundredths. Questions? Comments? Cries? It's not bad. All right, so we do need to talk about this. That's all I need you guys to take from here is when you're rounding to the nearest cent, you're rounding to the nearest thousands, okay? So how much money will you pay in each shopping situation? Round each money amount to the nearest cent. So remember, the nearest cent is the nearest hundredth. So if you do a math problem and we do a math calculation and we end up with this being our answer, we need to make sure we round to the nearest thousand. So is 7.6241, is it closer to 7.62 or 7.63? How would you know? You need to round to the nearest hundredth. That's how you know. You underline the number in the hundredths place, then you look at the number next to it, to the right of it, and that number is going to tell the 2 to either stay as a 2 or to go up to a 3. So which is it going to be? It's going to stay. Nope, it's going to stay. You keep it, guys, because that 4 is not 5 or higher. Only if it's 5 or higher do you round up. And then here's our imaginary pair of scissors. Cut the rest of it out. We don't need it anymore. Guys, are there any questions about why it stays as a 62 for the cents? Yes. It's not greater than 5. No, do you have any questions on why the answer is that? All right. Take a look at this one right here. Think about it. I'm going to call. Yes, it is. Good job. Good job. Are there any questions on that? So it would be 3.65. I didn't finish it. Sorry. All right. We're running out of time and I really need to get through all of the slides. So we're going to skip some problems. Round to the nearest dollar. I want you guys to think about what that means.
100.
So round to the nearest dollar. If I have this number right here and I want to round to the nearest dollar, what place value am I rounding to? Say it again?
Which is the 5.
No.
The one.
No.
Kia?
The ones.
The ones place. Because that 4 is going to give me the nearest dollar. 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. That is the ones place. So that 4, I'm going to look at that 5 right there. And is it going to be closer to 84 or 85? 85. Good job.
So we're reading the numbers for the, you're gonna go after this one.
Correct. That is the place value.
And starting at the 5, that would be the tens, hundreds, thousands?
Yes. Yes. So you have 84 plus 1 gives you 85 because we rounded up. Okay, I'm going to skip on this one because of time. But it will be on your slide for you guys to look at. Oh, I really like this one. I want you guys to do this one for me. What'd you get? Nothing?
Oh, wait.
Jessica Ann, what'd you get?
I got 70 cents.
That's exactly right. Good job.
How?
Candy bars are 6 for $4.18. So that means that 1 bar is going to cost 0.6967. 1 bar. They're telling you that 1 bar costs that much. How much will a person pay for a single bar? Round to the nearest cent. All you're doing is rounding to the nearest cent for how much 1 bar is. And they tell you how much 1 bar is. I like to give you guys these examples because not everything in math is complicated. It's just understanding what the question is asking you to do. Raise your hand if you got 70 cents all by yourself. Good job. 9, looks over. Good, beautiful.